Okay, here we go, folks, in the
Check 1, 2.
presence of a non-existent God and an evidence-based Brian Dunning. Are you ready?
Hello.
Okay, I've got the script here. Should be okay. Welcome to the Skeptic Zone. Welcome to the Skeptic Zone. I stuffed it up. Hey, let's do it again. I think that's evidence-based now, okay? I'm still holding this, just in case. No.
Nice.
Okay, and the huge applause is on the words, the Skeptic Zone, okay? Cue theme. Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Soika.
Stefan!
Oh, what a day!
I can't believe it. I can't believe you're here in the Skeptic Zone in the TAM Australia.
This is a pretty freaky room, isn't it?
It is. I'm freaked out already. How are you?
I'm vibed right out.
Are you? Are you wearing your power balance?
No, I'm not. I've got a new miracle cure coming up later on in the show, though. So.
Someone give that man a power balance. Welcome to the Skeptic Zone for the 28th of November, 2010. I'm Richard Saunders. Joining me on stage is Stefan Soika, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Richard.
And now he has a TAM band. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rachie Dunlop. Iran Segev. Nurse Joe Bedamu. Dr. Chrissy Wilson. And blogging, tweeting, videoing, and doing everything else, Kylie Sturgis. Stefan.
Richard.
Where have you been? What's the story?
No, look, I moonlight as a wedding singer, and I was doing a wedding last night. Got home at 5 o'clock in the morning from Berry. Anyone been to Berry, down that way? Beautiful part of the world, but yeah, not a good place to be when you should be at a skeptic convention.
Now, I hope people realise that Stefan wrote the wonderful theme music we have, and we get like 99% of people write in saying, oh, it's so great, you know, it starts off the show, we get someone and say, can you do something about that theme music? You know, you've got a good podcast, but the theme music wrecks it.
I'm actually working on a reggae version and a techno version. So
what?
Yeah, next year it's going to be a very different sort of show. Yeah.
The Skeptic Zone.
Yeah, doing all that stuff.
He also, if the listeners to the show at the end, there's a wonderful operatic singing voice. That's... You going to give us a rendition?
No.
Right, okay. Or is that clapping because he's not?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
This is the first time the entire team have been together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first time the entire team. And we have our satellite Skeptic Zone who orbits us. Maynard, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'll just get you to switch over to the PowerPoint. And Maynard, if you click on that and press F5, we should be coming up with our logo.
Can I just say something, Richard, while you're doing that? I'm monitoring Twitter. Whoever tweeted who let Maynard on stage, please stand up.
Security.
Now, if you allow me to indulge myself for just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, before we have a little chat up here. Oh, hang on. It's a tradition. This is what we look like in Las Vegas. It's a thrill for me to be here, especially since it's 10 years ago. If you'd like to click the spacebar, Maynard. There we go. 10 years ago this month, ladies and gentlemen, one of us has aged. That's the one in the back. No, that's the... I'd met Randy very briefly and got his autograph about a year before that, but there we are at the 2000 convention here in Sydney. It was the third Skeptics World Convention, and I was just a guy like everybody else who came up and to meet the amazing Randy, and he graciously said, "Yes, come for a photograph," and I can't believe that's 10 years ago. That's fantastic. It's one of my favourite photographs. Actually, he signed that for me later, and it's framed on the wall, of course. Maynard, one more slide. Back to that. Thank you, Maynard. You may now relax. Friends, before we get to our special guest who's coming up soon, I'll throw things open to us all to have a little chat. Rachie, your Dr. Rachie reports, we get lots of email about Dr. Rachie reports, in fact.
Yes,
and
we do.
We do. You appreciate Dr. Rachie reports? We certainly do.
Richard, do these people actually listen to the show? I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, mate. Some of them do.
Why didn't you tell me? I wouldn't have turned up.
What in all the Dr. Rachie, in all the Dr. Rachies you've done, Rachie, which ones stand out in your mind?
Well, I think the one I get a lot of comments about, people actually approach me and commend me on, is one that you suggested I do. In fact, you cajoled me into doing it, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
That was the ear candles one. I don't know if anyone's heard that. And does anyone here not know what ear candles are? A few hands, okay. I asked a few people this question before I explained it, and they thought that they might be some kind of candle that you put in your ears and then you light it so you can see where you're walking. Someone else suggested it was a candle made of earwax.
Oh, they did that on
Mythbusters. I don't know why you'd buy that, but then people buy Power Balance, so you never know. No, in fact, what they are is they are hollow tubes of wax that are rolled up when they're warm, and then you put them into your ears and you light the far end and you lie on your side, and as they burn down, they're supposed to extract toxins, demons, religion, all kinds of things, and to ridiculous things like fungus and viruses and stuff like that. But of course, there's no evidence for it. But when I first came across these, I thought that can't be real. It can't. Nobody is stupid enough to stick a burning stick in their ear. I mean, Dr. Carl, I think, talks about this, and I'm sure everyone's parents told you this. Don't stick anything in your ear smaller than your elbow. Then why would you stick a burning stick? It's just so ridiculous.
Or a burning elbow.
Or a burning elbow. But Richard talked to me about this when I first started doing the podcast, and he said, I want you to go to town on this because this is so ridiculous. But the other thing is it's also dangerous because there have been stories of people dying, not directly as a result of ear candling, but there was a story of a woman who was candling in her house by herself, and she set fire to the curtains, and then the house caught on fire, and she subsequently escaped, but she died of an asthma attack in hospital. But there's a serious side to it as well, because there have been stories of people that get perforated eardrums because the hot wax drips into your ear. And if you ever see these things, have a look at them closely, because some of them have on the inside at the ear end, they'll have sort of a drip filter paper, and they say that that's okay, the wax will drip in there, it won't burn your ear. But if you have a look at the literature, and Edzard Ernst has done written some stuff about this, there is evidence that they do harm. So anyway, Richard said do it and go to town on them. And it's the only Dr. Rachie reports where I actually, in the middle of it, went... How do you do it, Richard? I don't... Yeah, I did that. I did that in the
Any
middle
fans
of
of the Goon Show here? Yeah. Ready?
And so...
Right.
So people tell me that they listen to it on public transport and they always end up laughing to themselves, and people look at them around and think that they're crazy. So that's the one that's most memorable. We got
a man come up to me recently and said he plays at the Skeptic Zone in his taxi. What a great idea. You know, the taxi, and people say, what radio station's that? He says, Talking about wacky devices, we have with us the presence of a man who has certainly no end of wacky devices. I give you none other than Dr. Stefan. What do you have for us, Dr. Stefan?
Hi, I'm Dr. Stefan Soika from the Scalar Academy of Energy Field Wellness and Wealth Creation Sciences. And I'm very proud to announce today the launch of our brand new healing and wealth creation system, the Scalar Academy of Energy Field Wellness and Wealth Creation Sciences X-ray program. Now, I admit I'm a skeptic. I'm skeptical of anything any scientist or university-trained doctor tells me. So imagine my surprise when my team at the Scalar Academy of Energy Field Wellness and Wealth Creation discovered that X-ray's wavelength, 0.01 to 10 nanometers, and frequency, 3 times 10 to the 16 to 3 times 10 to the 19 hertz, is exactly the same wavelength and frequency range of your body's natural scalar universal healing energy field, aura and chakra. Doctors have been hiding this from humanity for over 100 years and cashing in on selling you only minute doses of natural healing X-rays. Well, now it's time for us to cash in with the most amazing wellness and wealth creation program ever devised, a multi-level marketing and healing system that will give you unlimited X-ray exposure and unlimited wealth. You get your choice of the finest X-ray machines that I have imported directly from disused Eastern European hospitals and prisons, along with the Scalar Academy of Energy Field Wellness and Wealth Creation Sciences Wealth Creation System tools to show you how to create unlimited abundance by selling X-ray exposure to your friends and family, and a beautiful range of fine prints, wall hangings, T-shirts and mugs of their X-ray images. The Hippocrates X-ray unit is our base model at $85,000 with 4, 8 and 12-hour exposure settings. The Florence Nightingale model at $123,000 is our combined X-ray and solarium bed that will radiate and resonate with the healing power of your DNA for up to 3 weeks straight and give you a great tan at the same time. The Christian Barnard model at $154,000 is exactly the same as the Florence Nightingale, but it's an amazing new innovation, a homeopathic intravenous drip. I'm so confident that you will love these X-ray healing systems that every model you buy and or sell to your friends for a 3 levels deep 0.1% affiliate commission trail has built into the cost $1 million. That's right, $1 million worth of life insurance taking out against you or your friends with me as the beneficiary. That's how confident I am. So act now and start healing and wealth creation the process today. X-rays are exciting, extraordinary, and soon you will be experiencing levels of X-ray wellness and abundance at an excruciating scale.
Can that be ordered on the web?
Online now, yes. I'll tell you the address later. It's a long address.
Thank you, Dr. Stefan, for that wonderful bit of a new energy, new form of healing.
Ah, yes, X-rays, magical.
Magical. Well, let's have a brief discussion now, everybody on the panel. As you know, we've all done bits and pieces. That we come and go. It's very interesting at the Skeptic Zone, but we are sort of spread around a bit. And one of our members, Kylie Sturgis, who's on the end, which is sort of representative because she's in Perth. You know, if I'm Sydney here, anyway, she's far away in Perth. And Kylie, you've been extraordinarily active all the time, 24 hours a day, 370 days a week. What?
That sounds like something Dr. Stefan would say, yes.
And I mean that. She tweets in her sleep, you know. She must, I think. And she's, of course, it's like one of those shows, and they go on to do other shows. She has her own podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about how your own podcast is travelling?
My own podcast was inspired by you. You pointed out to me that if I was interested in perhaps exploring education and skepticism a little more, maybe I should certainly start thinking about doing a little offshoot of a podcast. And I thought, well, yeah, why not? I certainly was greatly inspired and interested in the art that you introduced me to. And that's how, essentially, to be fair, that's how the Token Skeptic began. It is a mixture of both essays and some of the interviews. It also features some of the research that I've done. I'm plugging Embiggen Books, but if you check out Beyond Belief, book by Martin Bridgestock, it does feature some of the research that is vital in regards to how the Australian skeptics encourage us looking at paranormal beliefs, and I mentioned in that. And it's just a great opportunity to learn more about the art and hopefully inspire others, because as we learnt here at this amazing meeting, podcasting, blogging, it's a great way of getting the word out.
A lot of people have come to me and said that it's and the other night when we had the SGU dinner and people were seeing all the podcasters up there. It's so important. Podcasting is so important. And I'm not saying that because I'm a podcaster. I listen to all these other podcasts to find out things. I even listen to Skeptoid.
No!
Ryan Dunning, ladies and gentlemen.
I just have one question. Is Brian Dunning our keyboard cat for the show? Okay, good.
He did a great little shtick for me once, Brian. I was coming to the States, and he did a funny thing to promote my visit so people could meet me at a pub. And I wrote the script for him saying, "G'day, here we are, we're going to see Richard Saunders," and all this sort of thing. And I wrote at the end he would say, "Hooroo." But it's really Uru, isn't it? When you say goodbye, how do you say it?
Uru.
Uru. But he didn't know that. So he just read it as Hooroo.
You also have to do it, Richard, with your mouth shut so the flies don't get in.
He also likes to introduce me as a former telly celebrity and future bushranger.
Oh, dear God.
Now, Dr. Chrissy Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, what a great talk she gave the other day. Wasn't it? Wasn't it fantastic? We're so delighted for you to be part of the Skeptic Zone team, and you went to London for us. Well, you went to London, not for us. And you caught up with, of course, the name is...
Chris French.
Thank you, Chris French. And with your little recorder. What was that like?
What was what like?
What
was Chris like?
Yeah, going to be a reporter for the Skeptic Zone in London.
Yeah, it was great. But before I tell you about that, could I just share something personal with you all?
Yeah.
TAM Australia has been a personal breakthrough for me, ladies and gentlemen, because from now on I will no longer be introduced as the academic who once played a prostitute on the bill. Now I will be introduced as the academic who wears red knickers. My career, ladies and gentlemen, is going from strength to strength.
But
yes, London. London was fabulous, actually, and I left there about 3 years ago, and remarkably, as soon as I left, scepticism really took off in the UK. I don't think the two events are actually correlated, but there are skeptics groups everywhere now in Britain. Almost every city in Britain seems to have a skeptics in the pub. I'm not sure if that's just to promote binge drinking in England. Not that we need to promote more binge drinking, but yeah, London was great, and it was lovely to catch up with all the London skeptics and to catch up with Chris French, who I'm sure you must all know his name. He's one of the leading lights in European anomalistic psychology. Don't worry if you don't know what anomalistic psychology is, because most people can't even pronounce it. Animalistic psychology is something completely different, trust me. It was great to go to London, and I loved being a reporter. Hey, my fourth career, perhaps. I'm on my third at the moment, so maybe that'll be my fourth career.
Well, I was going to leave it to today to tell you we're doubling your pay.
Excellent. That's zero, then.
Zero, right.
I've had some complaints, though, Chrissy.
Oh, no, why?
Because... actually, it wasn't just red knickers, it was lucky red knickers, but you didn't provide any evidence.
Well...
I mean, this is why we're here, people, isn't it? To seek the evidence.
Oh, all right.
Moving
no
right
chance.
along with the show. Thank
They're
you.
black today, anyway, actually.
Thank you, Chrissy. Now, flip over here for a brief word from Iran. Grain of salt. Iran Sergeyev's Grain of Salt segment. I had to laugh when we went to the amazing meeting the year before last, I think, and it was Iran's first time. And where's Fred Bremer? Is Fred in the room? Fred ran up to Iran singing Grain of Salt, Grain of Salt. Shh, shh, shh. Yeah. And you went to Hong Kong and you toured Noah's Ark for us, Iran.
Yes.
That was a memorable part. What was that like?
It was because it was... I try not to get too much into religion. I find it a little bit boring, really. But this was an amazing place because it's really magnificent. When you cut the crap, you ignore the fact that it's all bullshit. It's really amazing. It's supposed to be the real size of Noah's Ark. Who knows? But it's very, very large. There's a museum inside. There's full-scale models of elephants and giraffes and all kinds of other animals that were definitely on the ark, I'm sure. So, and then they tried to be as scientific as they could, but there's only so much you can say when you know the ark was there and you know that the world is 6,000 years old. So from time to time, the crap crept out of the displays. But it was really quite an amazing experience.
It's been a while since we've had a grain of salt, actually, Iran. Have you been busy?
Just a tad.
Yeah. And Nurse Jo Benamu, the skeptical nurse, did a wonderful report for us from Mind Body Wallet. Jo, can you stand going to yet another Mind Body Wallet? I know your face. No, all right.
You see my eyes widen in terror.
What's it like for you personally, being a medical person, a nurse, going to Mind Body? We mean Mind Body Spirit, the New Age Festival, but we'll call it Mind Body Wallet as we do.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I've been to 2 of the Mind Body Spirit festivals, and we actually recently went to another festival. I can't quite remember the name. I think it was the Ultimate Health Festival.
Yes.
The Ultimate Health Festival proved to be a dismal failure. I think there were more skeptics wandering around than anything else. It was actually quite entertaining. There were I think they must have paid a fortune to hire out this hall out at Sydney Olympic Park, and there were a lot of stalls there and no one wandering around, which we were quite delighted to see that all this nonsense was not actually getting a chance to make its way out into the public.
Yes, yeah.
But the fact is that these things often will take hold, and we'll see next year they might appear again. But the fact is that while that one may not do too well, the Mind Body Spirit Festival attracts thousands of people.
Mind Body Wallet, please.
And wandering around at the ones I've been to, it's there's a lot of stuff there that's pretty innocuous. There's some nice organic food and things that you can buy, beads and so on. But when you get down to things like the man selling, claiming to cure cancer and AIDS, and people like the one organisation who claims that if you put their pendant on a bottle of water, you can turn it into sunscreen, and the woman claims to use this on her grandchildren as sunscreen because you don't want to get all the toxins from sunscreen in your body. It's pretty horrible. In fact, I remember having, when the first ones I went to, I wasn't too keen to engage with people, but I've become a little bit bolder over time, and I quite like getting into arguments with them, even though it's often quite futile. And I remember speaking to 2 people who were really proud to tell me that they were nurses, selling products and claiming some sort of supplement and claiming that chemotherapy will kill you and you shouldn't take chemotherapy for cancer. So
I remember.
Do they work in oncology?
Quite possibly.
The first time I took Dr. Rachie to a Mind Body Wallet, you had to sit down, didn't you? You were doing this at one stage. You were really flustered.
I was visibly shaking because I was so angry at the claims that these people were making. And you dragged me away, sat me in a corner and left me there for 20 minutes just going...
Was that the urine therapy?
No,
that
was you were yelling at the urine therapy person.
Yeah.
This was a guy who was saying that you could cure AIDS by putting a drop of your own urine under your tongue for 5 days in a row. Is that right? And we generally have a protocol when we go to these events. We try to go sort of a little bit undercover and just pretend to be consumers, and we ask questions because you rarely get the answers that you want, and then you can just start probing a little bit further, and you can sometimes get them to say something illegal, and then you go and report them to the government. Duh. But so we don't usually yell, but sometimes we lose our tempers. And someone did say today, I think Gio said, sometimes there is a place to be a dick. And I think in this case...
Sometimes.
It was. I walked away because I didn't want to be there, but you went off at this person, and I think that's completely viable that you did.
Sometimes we're all human. I try to play it cool, but
And sometimes I think also that you don't know who's standing around you, and I think it also depends on how you lose your temper at them as well. And the one guy we spoke to, the one who has similar, I think sells a similar product, claiming to cure cancer and AIDS, and I was asking him questions about his product and. Was getting quite irate at him because he was telling me things which I knew were absolute nonsense. And there was a lady standing next to us, sort of listening, and then as we walked away, she said, "Oh, I was really interested in what you were saying, and I've actually got family who try these products, and I just don't know what to do about it, and didn't really know where to take this." And it was actually really helpful for her to see someone standing there questioning this stuff, and to then learn that there are people like us out there who are doing something about it. So I think sometimes actually showing your criticism in front of other people at these events can be useful to let people know that you're there.
Richard, can I tell the story about the detox pads?
If you tell it quickly, yes.
The most recent one we went to, there was a guy selling this bamboo detox products that you're supposed to be able to put this charcoal bamboo into water and it gets rid of all the toxins. But he was also selling wood vinegar that was, I don't know what it was supposed to do. And he said, "Oh, this is the wood vinegar that you use in detox foot pads. It's the same stuff." And I said, "Oh, do you know those detox foot pads? They don't really work. They claim to work, but they don't work." And he asked me why they didn't, and I explained it. And he got really angry. He said, "I've been ripped off. Those things are really expensive, and we're in this Wellbeing Festival where everything's a rip-off. Like, none of it's got any evidence." And he got really upset that he was being ripped off for foot pads. It was really funny.
That was good. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been going every 6 months to the Sydney Mind Body Wallet Festival. I think I've learnt enough, and I would now like to visit it next time with somebody from the government agency or an authority figure, because there are blatant rip-offs, scams, shams and shonks and cons there. No two ways about it. There are people there screwing people who are in need, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Now, let's lighten up the mood a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us on the Zone today, and one of my favourite people in the world. She brightens my day every time I see her. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pamela Gay. Pamela, hello. We're so happy that you could join us.
It's fabulous to get to be on your show and to be on such a colourful, feathery cast.
Ah.
Sucks. You sentimental.
Now,
Which
Pamela,
is fun. I'm part Muppet now.
we're going to spend the rest of the show discussing a topic which I know is close to your heart, actually, and it's a wonderful topic. I think we should all talk about. It's basically using skepticism to engender positive curiosity. We should be giving something back to those who we seek to take something away from. This is the theme of the discussion. I know you're a passionate supporter of this idea, using skepticism to engender, and it's what we do in our school program, the Mystery Investigators, inspire the imagination. Yeah.
So when I was a little kid, I was fascinated with sci-fi movies. But we don't live in a science fiction world. We're getting there. I love my... Don't you remember when Captain Kirk used to sign one of these? But watching these movies, I was always, how did they do that? How did they figure that out? I was always trying to figure out how to replicate this magical world of the future. And I think that in some ways can be much more interesting and intriguing than letting yourself sink into a really badly written plot, because sadly most sci-fi is badly written. It's getting better. But if you can't enjoy the plot, enjoy trying to figure out how they make the backgrounds do what they do.
Yeah, that's true. But do you get many letters from Astronomy Cast? Ladies and gentlemen, Astronomy Cast. If you don't listen to Astronomy Cast, go out now. I mean, it's a wonderful podcast. Do you get many younger people writing in to your show?
Yeah, one of the ones that we got our very first year that I actually cut out, and occasionally when you're a faculty member, you have really bad days and you wonder why you're trying to educate people, because clearly they don't want it. And I have this one comment that we got taped up on my door so that I see it going into my office after teaching those particularly bad lectures. And it's from a young girl who said that she'd never seen a female astronomer before, and she'd always wanted to be a scientist but didn't know girls could do it. Whoa. And now she's out, she has a telescope, and this is what she does. She wants to be an astronomer, and that was That told me we're doing it right.
I'm a girl and I'm a scientist. Does that count?
Yes.
Or do you have to be an astronomer?
This is a
Chrissy's one
fabulous
too.
table of girls who are scientists. It's awesome. We outnumber the boys.
Well, in astronomy, though, Pamela, I know because I'm in biological sciences, and actually it's dominated by women in biological sciences. What is it like in astronomy? Do you know the percentage breakdown?
Last time I looked, it was 11% at the tenured professor level. Wow. And I just switched from being in a physics department to being in a new interdisciplinary center. And the physics department I was in is now 0% women, and that's not unusual.
And what is it like at undergrad level?
At the undergraduate level, it actually is looking quite good. In some places, it's as high as 40%. So we have a leaky pipeline for a variety of reasons, where girls start out in sciences, in the physical sciences, in astronomy, and they want to do this, they're interested, they're passionate, and they just leak out of the system. And this has a lot of different reasons. In some cases, it's just a matter of you get sick and tired of everything being designed for the boys, down to when I was at McDonald Observatory, we had to check the filter alignment on the telescope that I used each night. And excuse my language, if your boobs were too big, and mine were, it was a struggle to get in and check the filter, because it was designed for flat-chested men to get up in the dress to check the filter. And it's just the stupid little tiny things no one thinks about, that when you're going, damn, trying to just check a filter, it makes you realize you're in a man's world. And these things just add up and add up and add up over time. And you never escape the sexism, the gender bias, the being mistaken for your own secretary, the being mistaken for, oh, who's your spouse? And it just wears on you until you think, well, you know, I make good money as a writer. Why don't I just go be a journalist? And I did that for a year. And a lot of people don't come back after going away for a while. I just realized that journalists were scary, so I fled.
It's interesting.
I've noticed that in a few different fields. I don't know if any of the other ladies on this panel have experienced that. If you're a good researcher, you're a good typist, you know how to use technology, why don't you become a secretary? Not that disses secretaries, because we bloody well need people who have these sorts of skills, but it doesn't mean that you automatically need to be labelled as this. And, isn't it funny? No, it isn't.
I kind of see things from the opposite way around, because, I mean, I'm in a profession where we're 90% women, and, you know, we're seeing more and more men come into nursing.
Yeah.
But there's still very much this idea that, you know, there's a stereotype around what kind of men will be in nursing.
Oh, yeah.
And so that it's a kind of a reverse, and I think it's a weird way to see it, because we're so used to sort of pushing for equality for women in professions. I mean, the thing is that men in nursing tend to actually move up the ranks in nursing a lot faster than women do, as it is anyway. But it's an interesting reverse of that.
Just a complete aside, did anybody watch All Saints in this country, the TV show All Saints? Come on, you can admit it. It's all right. I played a nurse on that show for 5 years. It was actually, I have to say, All Saints was one show that actually did portray nurses in a pretty good light compared to a lot of other...
Was that with fake boobs and a wig and stuff?
Yes. Pamela, you may or may not know that Kylie did a wonderful thing a number of years ago with her students, where she had them make crop circles. Talk about inspiring children with wonderful imaginative things like that. You know about that, Pamela?
I know about crop circles. I didn't know about your students' crop circles, and I'd love to know how you did that, because we actually have hay growing on our campus. Oh. And hay works like corn, doesn't it?
It frightened the heck out of the school principal, I can tell you that much. I kind of forgot to tell him, and he came in, and we got a great big, huge, great court lawn because they decided to get creative, and there was all these, you know, the happy face, you know, with the two eyes and stuff. That's what they did. It was great. Yeah. Oh, and making your own fake UFO photos using the school hat. Worked brilliantly. The straw boater looked fantastic. And it was like all these guys. Yeah, it was a hat.
Is this the sort of thing that we're talking about, Pamela? Using things like this to skepticism, to engender wonder and excitement.
And creativity. I mean, that's the other part of it, is people forget, and unfortunately, one of the things we talk about at astronomy conferences is the fastest way to make someone dislike astronomy is to have them sign up for Astronomy 101. And it's true at a large level, because in the classroom, a lot of times you are so busy teaching the equations, you forget to teach the creativity that goes into being a scientist, the ingenuity that is required to build new equipment and figure out hard problems. And with things like crop circles, well, that's an engineering problem. And students get the chance to take the concepts they've learned and own them, make them their own smiley face if they want to. And it's in that allowing them ownership stage that they want to go home and say, hey, Mom, Dad, look at what I did, and replicate it, hopefully not in their front lawn, but replicate it nonetheless.
One thing I find amazing about what's happening with science now, there's so much science that it's making all the woo-woo stuff not so amazing compared to the real science, because it's cosmology is just going nuts at the moment, and just seeing what the really freaky stuff is the science stuff, and it just makes everything that all the crap that everyone's believing in is just becoming less and less important, and so much easier now to sort of guide people towards the amazingness of real amazing things, not fraudulent amazing things.
And what I'm really loving, and I keep talking about citizen science, but it's because I see what my colleagues in other fields are doing too, and all across all the fields there's amazing projects. One of the favorites that I've heard of is from EarthTrack, where they're trying to measure climate change by looking at tombstones. Now, this is a great project if you live in some place with a lot of really old graveyards. And I grew up in New England. And they have people going out, and gravestones start with sharp edges. But as they get rained on over time, as they get acid rained on over time, those corners soften, and you end up with rounded edges on your tombstones. So imagine taking an art class out to a graveyard, and this is the type of thing when you grow up in New England you end up doing. You do the gravestone rubbings, and then you pull out your calipers, and you measure the rounded edges of the tombstone. Report your results, and you find out what the historic acid rain levels have been for the past 400 years, based on looking at tombstones across all the different centuries.
The fact that you brought up artistry and artists and how they can contribute is an important point too. You don't have to be a scientist in order to communicate these things. You just have to have a love of science and certainly a hell of a lot of creativity. I should point out that how many of us here on these panels are in fact scientists? I'm an educator. Richard's a magician.
I'm a wedding singer.
Wedding singer. You need a wedding singer.
Soika.
Yeah, you need a wedding singer in your podcast, absolutely. So even though we have a certain amount of science-based education amongst us, we're not all scientists, and everyone can contribute.
I was last night.
Pamela, can I ask you about you? You used to, or you still do? You teach an online astronomy course. Do you still do that? And how can people do your course?
So I'm not teaching a course this semester. I don't always teach it. I teach for Swinburne Astronomy Online, and every semester I'm a project instructor. This is an online master's certification, and it's basically astronomy education and public outreach. So if you want to work at a planetarium, want to work in a museum, teach at a community college, this is a good, solid education that you can get. And all of the courses are online, and each course has end-of-semester projects that you have to do. And rather than having one poor sod teaching 30 students try and monitor 30 projects, which is death, they bring in people like me and have us mentor the students through hands-on projects. It's just sometimes the hands are on through Skype. And I've worked with students doing variable star work, doing tumbling asteroids, and those results actually led to a publication, doing color magnitude diagrams, all sorts of different projects online. And every other year or so, I teach a capstone course on observational astronomy. It's a fairly expensive program, but when you consider the fact that you can keep working full-time while taking it, and it is accredited, at least in many places in the United States, it's a reasonable price for what you're able to do and the flexibility that you get. And I've been with them for 10 years, and I'm now encountering the graduates all across the professional astronomy community. And it's really good to see that what I've invested in has created a population of astronomy educators.
Well, Pamela, what a delight it is again to have you on the Zone. Sadly, time is catching up with us, but if there was ever a finer role model for young scientists of both sexes, I can't think of it. Pamela Gay, ladies and gentlemen. And time has caught up with us, my friends, on the Skeptic Zone podcast. Thank you, everybody, for coming along here today to be part of it. Indulge me again, please. Can everybody... No. Who said that? Thank you. Rob Morrison from the Curiosity Show trying to steal our thunder, ladies and
Seems to be a
gentlemen.
professional heckler.
He is. However, it is on the topic, if you are having a birthday today, could you please stand up? I'm curious, in this sort of room, how many? One? Is that it? Really? In a room this side? Happy birthday! I'm surprised. You know, normally you get 2, 3. Okay, that's cool. It's a wonderful date. A brief sign-off from everybody, then we'll wrap it up, starting with Iran Segev. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Dr. H.E.
Can you say that in Reiki, Richard?
You want me to say what? You want me to say the ancient word for Reiki?
Well, the ancient word for Reiki, I think our listeners would like to hear the ancient word for Reiki.
The way Reiki is pronounced in the original language?
The way it was originally pronounced, yes.
All right. We'll say a sign-off from Kylie.
Yes, sign off from me, and don't forget to watch out for Pamela Gay's future work on something called The Edge. If you're an educator like me, get in touch with her, just so the keyboard cat doesn't play me off.
Dr. Chrissy.
Yes, as I have suspected for a while, we're all wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Miracles do happen. England are 0 for 186.
What?
Believe.
And that was the last appearance you ever have of Dr. Chrissy Wilson on the Skeptic Zone podcast.
Nurse Joe Bedamu.
Thank you, Richard. Oh, look, it's been an absolute privilege to be up here with everyone. And look, I've been in touch with a few nurses in the last couple of days, and I'm trying to get a group of skeptical nurses together. So if you know any out there who'd be interested in touching base, please ask them to get in touch with me through the Skeptic Zone website.
Absolutely. Stefan, we've done it again.
We've done it again. Well, could I just say what a great joy it is to be part of the Skeptic Zone and to have such a great event here. So many people from all over the world as well.
Yep,
Anyone from America has come. Everywhere. Yep. It's just such a joy to be. I'm just a bit sad that I wasn't here for the whole thing. I've only been here for the day.
But you had to sing at a wedding, right?
I did have to sing at a wedding. Yes, I did. No, but it's been a great joy being a part of it.
Thank you, Stefan. Well, for this week only, and I hope we'll have the think tank back in the next couple of weeks when we can get the gang together down the club at the end of the street. This is Richard Saunders signing off from TAM Australia. Woo! Thanks, everyone.
Well done, team. Just out of curiosity, how many people do get the Skeptic Zone podcast? That's pretty good. That's brilliant. Fantastic. And don't forget to tell your friends and spread it out there. Let it go viral. And Chrissy, fear not, my dear. In future, yes, you will be known when I introduce you as the lady with the lucky red undies and as the girl who played a prostitute on the bill. You make my job so much easier and so much more delightful.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.
The Skeptic Zone, a miracle of technology.